All right, Shalom. First, let's start by sending all praise to Yahweh, by Shem Shai, by Shemo Kakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles that rule well, and salutations to the brothers that's doing the truth and sincerity. This is a quick lesson from CNBC. Says why black-owned businesses don't survive. So I'm going to play this and add some precepts and then end it.
Since the coronavirus outbreak was declared a pandemic, hundreds of thousands of businesses have been forced to shut their doors, some permanently. Entrepreneurs across America have had to face the uncertainty of the worst economic crisis in decades. While minority-owned businesses have been disproportionately affected, black-owned businesses suffered the most, declining by twice the rate of white-owned businesses. Systemic problems surrounding the economic gap aren't new. African American owned firms have historically struggled to get started and stay afloat. Getting approved for loans and receiving federal support can be nearly impossible for many. From 2007 to 2017, more than half of black-owned companies got turned down for loans, a rate twice as high as white-owned businesses, according to the Federal Reserve.
Right. So I'm gonna speak on that. One of the number one reasons is because this place is coming down. It's the end of the society, you know. And the housing market crash was one of the things that marked the end of the society. Also, and then we had before then it was 9/11. You know, so all of this is just catalyst to the end of the society. One, two, we are in our enemy's land, like the scriptures say, man. We're not supposed to be getting comfortable here, you know. But Jake and them don't know the times that we're living in. Hence the reason why they keep getting all these disappointments, so to speak, you know. And the nigger woman is the number one that's trying to keep hope alive and keep the dream alive. As you watch this, you know, it's going to end off with the nigger woman, you know. But throughout this whole clip, it's going to be about the nigger woman speaking and trying to live the American dream. But it's a scripture, the Isaiah scripture, saying, you know, they're not going to be able to live the American dream. So I'm going to start with this precept. This is Romans chapter 13, verse 11. And that knowing the time that now it is high time to awake out of sleep, right? This society is coming to an end, you know, and the steps, it's been coming gradually. These elites, well, the Lord, you know, been using the elites to end the society, and it's been gradually, you know. Just you would know if you were woke. That knowing the time that now it is high time to awake out of sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than when we believe. Right. So our salvation is close to what we believe, you know. But Jake don't want to still be in the society. That's why they out there protesting the way they are, man. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 1. The words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. Vanity of vanities, said the preacher, vanities. Oh, Slakia, forgive me. It's Ecclesiastes 3 and 1. To every time, to everything, there's a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. You know how Jake them famous for saying there's a time and a place for everything, right? You know, they don't understand that that's in the scriptures. You know, scriptures say prudent men understand both time and judgment, but they're not prudent or wise man. Let me get that first. Oh, it's a lot. Oh, here it goes. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 8, verse 5. Whoso keepeth the commandment shall feel no evil thing. Right, but the church say the commandments is done away with, man. You know, and the people that's in these other religions don't even believe in the commandments. You know, it says, and a wise man's heart discerneth both time and judgment. Right, so these people are not wise, man, because they can't discern the times and the judgments. You know, hence the reason why they're getting caught up in all this mischief. Um, but this Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, right? Time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted, and that's America. America was planted, now it's going to be plucked up, man. That's the time we're living in. A time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up. And all those times is coming, man, especially for America, man. You know, it's been a lot of killing, you know. Uh, this place is being broke down and the kingdom of heaven's finna be built up right afterwards, man. You know, it says, damn, Slocky, forgive me.
Okay, Norway, you did it. You awoke the sleeping evening giants. Okay, we say that. Is that how we're gonna do it? Fine.
You know this, Satan, because it's the longest commercial I done had in a long time. My commercials are 5 seconds.
Disproportionately affected.
But okay, Slocky, forgive me. It says a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, right? When it's time to break it down. I'll jump. Verse 8, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. Right, man. So, you know, if you read these scriptures and understand it, you'll know that the times that we're in now um, are declaring that you need to be in a specific spirit to where you can maintain and survive. It's not as you're not gonna be as comfortable no more, man. You know, a time to it says a time to love and a time to hate, and we see that going on a whole lot. A time of war and a time of peace, and we're not in the time of peace. We're in a time of war, and you know what happens during the time of war, man. You know, you got spoils. People, women getting turned into spoils. You know, a lot of death going on, like the scripture just said, man. Um, hunger, all this type of stuff going on in the time of war, but Jake don't understand the times, man. That's why they getting caught up. That's why you got documentaries like that. But this is prophecy. This is prophecy, so we can bring this understanding out to edify the elect. Yahweh is out through the spirit, through His spirit, man. I'm going to play the clip.
Black-owned businesses suffered the most, declining by twice the rate of white-owned businesses. Systemic.
Kind, and I wanted to get something on that too. We are under curses. This is Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 43. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high. And that's talking about Esau. And thou shalt come down very low. Right, we at the bottom. That's what this clip is about, man. That's what this 18 minutes and 37 clip is about, us being at the bottom and Esau being up over us and white privilege, because it's a curse in the scriptures, man. That's how you know we these people. Verse 44, he shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. Right, man. And Jacob going to the Esau to get money, and some getting money, some not. But that's prophecy, man. 45, moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord Yahweh thy power, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. Right, man. And these laws, statutes, commandments is for the blacks, Latins, and Native Americans, man. You don't see the so-called Jews, so-called Israelis going through this. They getting money from everybody, especially America, man. They being treated like royalty almost, so to speak. That's how you know they not the people. But I'm gonna go ahead and play this clip.
Problems surrounding the economic gap aren't new. African American owned firms have historically struggled to get started and stay afloat. Getting approved for loans and receiving federal support can be nearly impossible for many. From 2007 to 2017, more than half of black-owned companies got turned down for loans, a rate twice as high as white-owned businesses, according to the Federal Reserve. In the summer of 2020, the murder of George Floyd sparked a renewed interest in the economic advancement of black people. Businesses owned by people across the African diaspora saw huge surges in sales as people poured out in support.
It was very bittersweet for me because almost immediately I saw a surge in sales during that time last summer. And so there was this part of me that was extremely excited to see, so much support. On the other hand, it was very saddening that it had to come off of the heels of someone dying.
So why do black entrepreneurs continue to lag behind whites and other minority groups in terms of market share? And what will it take to keep them in business? It can be difficult for any business to succeed, but black entrepreneurs have historically faced unique challenges. Congress passed the Freedmen's Bureau Act in 1865, awarding compensation to freed slaves in the form of 40 acres and a mule. After President Lincoln's assassination, this bill, meant to help freed slaves gain financial stability, was rescinded. The legacy of slavery and Jim Crow left African Americans at a lasting economic disadvantage. Without equal footing, poverty continued to cycle through descendants of those slaves, creating a long history of wealth inequality.
What you see is that the median level, or the kind of 50th ranked white family in the U.S. has $170,000 in their net worth. When you compare that to the average black family in the U.S., what you see is that same, comparable black family has $10,000. So these levels of inequality, you can see business ownership or business success is kind of at that high end where we see just enormous amounts of inequality, especially when we start looking at revenues or employment size or the scale of the business.
While America has a long history of black entrepreneurship, it also has a history of racism and violence that systematically undermined efforts of African Americans to get ahead in the business world. Several exclusively black communities were home to thriving businesses in the post-Reconstruction era. The Greenwood district of Tulsa, Oklahoma became widely recognized as Black Wall Street, an affluent black community, ripe with businesses, banks, and educated professionals. But in June 1921, the entire town was bombed and burned to the ground by a white mob.
And what happened was just that black businesses did not have the money to recover after they were targeted, after they were attacked, after they were burned down to the ground, and through the system of oppression, as well as these notions of fear. And so you have this desire, of course, to rebuild, but with what resources? So it wasn't just individuals who were targeting businesses. You had the cops who refused to protect these businesses. You had the judicial system that refused to prosecute. And so it just really wasn't safe for African Americans to continue to be entrepreneurs in this climate.
The hope for black wealth in America burned, stripping families of their opportunity to create generational wealth.
Having a family background in business is really important. So for example, if your parents are business owners, you're twice as likely to be a business owner yourself than someone who doesn't have parents that are business owners. Now, if you go back, a generation or two generations, if you have low business ownership rates then it gets kind of passed along to future generations. And so that creates this kind of barrier that you don't have that family business experience.
Real estate is one of the most common ways to build wealth in America, but discriminatory housing practices have historically kept Black Americans out of the game. Starting in the 1930s, the Federal Housing Administration refused to insure homes in African American neighborhoods. This is known as redlining.
What would be the reaction of the community to a Negro family moving in?
Oh, I don't think they'd like it.
Black people are kept out of the newly developing suburban neighborhoods and pushed into urban housing projects. Modern-day redlining still exists. According to 2020 data from the Home Mortgage Disclosure Act, Black applicants are denied mortgage loans at a rate 80% higher than white applicants. These events laid the groundwork for the increasing wealth gap in America. It is still more difficult for African American entrepreneurs to get and stay in business. About 6.5 million businesses are launched in the United States each year. There are 6 different types of businesses to file under. Each of these defines how a company will handle taxes, liabilities, ownership, and finances. There are 30.2 million small businesses in the U.S. They make up about 99% of all businesses, but only a fraction of them survive. 20% of small-owned businesses fail by the first year, 30% by the second, 50% by the fifth, and by the 10th year, a staggering 70% of businesses have shut off their lights.
Some of the most common challenges, though, that do precipitate a business closure relate to, fundamental issues, lacking a firm business plan and a concrete business plan with real clear strategic direction, and getting some of the fundamentals in place at the onset.
For minorities, the numbers can be even more daunting. 8 out of 10 Black-owned businesses fail within the first 18 months. And despite making up 17.6 and 13.2% of the population, Hispanics and Blacks make up 5.8 and 2.1 of all employer businesses, or in other words, businesses with paid employees. For reference, white employers make up 88% of overall sales and control 86.5% of U.S. employment, according to the Small Business Administration. Lack of capital is the biggest challenge for African American small business owners, and studies show that Black-owned firms have weaker ties with banks. According to a 2019 survey by the New York Fed, fewer than 1 in 10 Black non-employer firms have a recent relationship with a bank, compared with 1 in 4 white-owned non-employer firms. And less than 47% of financing applications filed by African American business owners get approved. According to evidence from the survey, the discrepancies aren't due to Black entrepreneurs applying for financing at a lower rate. Black-owned firms apply for bank financing just as much as white-owned firms, if not more. 28% of Black-owned non-employer firms applied for financing in 2018, compared to 25% of white non-employers. The difference? Black applicants are denied at a higher rate.
They tend to be concentrated in industries that require less startup costs and are less capital intensive. But on top of that, so that setback has an impact as well on the ability to secure bank loans, lines of credit, because of course in those cases when you're an entrepreneur, you're starting out, what are you going to pledge? You're going to pledge your personal assets, whether it's your house or other types of collateral. And so if you're starting out where you're at a disadvantage there, that's going to create headwinds for you in securing external capital for your business.
In the summer of 2020, a study by the National Community Reinvestment Coalition found a disparity in the way Black and white loan applicants were treated. The study highlights one example where a Black applicant was turned away for not having an account with the bank. That same bank encouraged a white applicant with a similar profile and credit history to open an account and offered to send PPP information. Fear plays a part too. Federal Reserve data shows that 1 in 4 Black-owned firms reported foregoing applying for credit, with 56% of those firms stating that they did not want to accrue debt, and 60% indicating that they felt like they would be turned down if they applied.
For a long period of time, didn't even try to go to bank lenders because I knew that on file my application wouldn't be as strong as someone who wasn't an entrepreneur, who hadn't been in business for 2 years at the time or whatever. My application wasn't strong, and so I'm sure that lots of entrepreneurs go through that as well.
Did you know that Norway, the silly little country that everyone thinks is Finland, out-electrics us? Well, I won't stand for it. Who's with me, America?
Cool.
All right, I'm gonna stop it at that. This is a nice look watch. I'm ended off with this precept. This Deuteronomy chapter 28 verse 29, and thou shalt grope at noonday as the blind gropeth in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. Right, and that's what we're going through, man. That's how you know we the people. But with that being said, call all Yahweh Shemel Shai, devil honest to the elders and the apostles of the word, and salutations to the brothers that's doing the truth and sincerity. Shalom.